All right, everybody, it's Casey Stubbs, Freedom from Income. Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. It's Casey Stubbs, and today we're going to talk about discipline over drama, the real key to replacing your income with options. You know, this is a real personal subject for me and probably for almost every trader that is listening, but it's you can have the perfect strategy. You can copy trades from top traders, and you can buy every indicator under the sun. But if you don't have discipline, none of it will matter. Now, look, this isn't necessarily a discipline episode. It's more of a real life gets in the way episode. All right. I think everyone has a real life. And I think real life is one of the things that really gets people messed up. I know for me, that's the case. And so again, hello, welcome. This is the Replace Your Income with Options podcast, and this is the show that helps you build weekly income using simple, high-probability trades, and it just plain works. It's the best strategy, the simplest strategy, and my name is Casey Stubbs. I'm from the founder of Freedom Income Options, and today I'm breaking down the real edge in trading that nobody talks about, but everyone needs, and that is sticking to your plan and discipline. If you're serious about replacing your paycheck with options, make sure you grab the free roadmap, Replace Your Income with Options roadmap. The link is in the description. So let's get into it. Now, part one is the problem, why most traders fail. Most traders aren't failing because of bad setups, especially with the system that I'm using. They're failing because they're letting their emotions run the show. Fear of missing out, revenge trades after a loss, abandoning the plan when a trade doesn't work instantly, over leveraging after a win. And honestly, for me, all of those things have been true in the past, and also the fact that life has gotten in the way. You know, whether I've had to take the money out because I needed to pay a big bill, whether I had family members that had some problems that would become sick and I'd have to stop and go take care of them, or whether I had situations happen with my children, or, you know, personal situations that absolutely had to be dealt with, and yet it's totally sabotaged my trading. So what kind of person would I be if I neglected my personal responsibilities just so I could be successful in trading? You know, there's got to be an area in life where we say, hey, trading is important. I want to build a nice life. I want to build freedom. I want to have the things that I want to have, and I want to be able to take care of my family. But sometimes you have to take care of your family, and the trading falls out. I've got students that have come into me recently that have had to take care of parents, and they've had to take breaks from trading for a while, and that seriously stops your income, right? And that's one of the reasons why I make this so simple. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that have come up my way and how I have been sidetracked and the problems that I've had and some of the reasons why I haven't been successful and some of the reasons why I have been successful. And some of my successful students, I will talk about that. We're going to talk about all of these things. First of all, I'm sure you can relate of all of these things. There's just so many different things that cause traders to struggle. The first one I'm going to talk about is fear of missing out. I have some traders in my system that say, you know, this isn't making enough money for me. I need to go after something bigger. Okay, so we'll talk about those traders. And honestly, when I talk about those traders, that's me too. I mean, I'm in that camp and I've done that myself. All right. So here's a great example. I'll post a trade in the system, and it's a 1% weekly income. And by the way, 1% is about 65% a year, 67% a year compounded. So we're not talking joke money. Like, this is legit money. And yet it's not enough. Because why? Because it's not fast enough. Because I need my income and I need it now. I need to be able to replace my income with trading right now. And if I do that, I can do a 10x trade on a spread trade, a credit spread, instead of a cash secured put. And that can get me the money quickly. And so a great example of this for me was when I discovered credit spreads and I was cranking out the money. I was making like $15,000 a week. And I'm like, yes, this is really great. But then, my risk got too heavy and I over leveraged and I ended up taking a massive hit to my account. Right. And so that tends to be the problem. Like, we're going after the big trades. There's strategies out there that will win big, but they're so hard to sustain. And they take a lot of work usually and a lot of time. And so a couple things happen. One, we make a big mistake, or two, life gets in the way and we can't do it. Right. And so that's why I'm really pushing for traders to follow this simple system, because it's so easy to do what I'm doing with the cash secured puts. And we can do it in one trade a week. A lot of traders are taking several cash secured puts, but it's just really, really simple. And it's a slow growth, but it adds up so quickly. And that's the idea, is when we can win most of our trades, like we're talking 90-some percent, 99% of the trades, it's a game changer. And they're not big. They're just tiny little wins, tiny little wins, tiny little wins. And you just keep plugging away at it. And eventually you start to see that giant snowball, right? So fear of missing out's a big issue. Or personal situations like me, I've had that too, right? I've had situations come up with my family where I had to come up with a large sum of money to take care of some family. And I had to take out all my trading capital, right? And it was right when things were really rolling for me and I thought I was just about there. And I had to do it. So what are you going to do? Are you going to blame that person that you had to take care of? No, because that's my responsibility. So I can't blame someone for that. There's just so many different things that can go through a trader's mind when that happens. And there's blame, there's resentment, there's anger, there's blaming yourself. There's just so many things, right? And it's hard to get the right mindset and say, oh my, it happened. I'm just going to move forward from here. And I'm just going to be thankful for all of the good things that I have right now, right? Because if you get stuck in that cycle of trying to pinpoint the fault, whether it's yourself, because whenever you look at yourself and you're looking for faults, there's always plenty to find. Whenever you're looking at other people and you're looking for faults, there's always plenty to find. And then you get angry at yourself, and then you get angry at the people that you're close to your life. So instead of doing that, focus on gratitude, thankfulness. Whatever you focus on is what comes into your life. So if you focus on the negative will come. If you focus on the good will come. Okay. And you might say, well, I've tried that and it doesn't work. Well, keep trying it. If you want to switch over to the blame game and that works for you, write up a big report and send it to me, because I would love to hear your story. But for me, I'm not going to blame anyone. I'm just going to take responsibility, and I'm going to continue to have a good mindset. And I'm going to expect good things to happen. And so that's one of the big switches for me, is to really double down on not worrying about big wins, not worrying about making money quickly, but actually following the strategy and taking your small wins. And by the way, I have kind of solved that in one regard, and that is I have two parts to my system. I have a credit spread part, which is a small piece, and then I have the steady income piece, which is the cash secured puts, which makes money week in and week out. And you can move money back and forth between the two moving parts, right? So that's really one of the big issues. And I want you just to take a minute to think about all of the problems that you've had, all of the shortcomings, all of the failures. I mean, I don't know what your situation is, but I do know a lot of people, because I've been coaching and working with traders for a long time, and I've been in this business a long time, and I know the pain that comes from trying to accomplish something for such a long period of time and not being able to do it. And it's funny because sometimes it gets very frustrating, right? It gets very frustrating, and it gets frustrating trying to help people when they've really given it everything they have and they didn't make the cut, and they ended up falling flat on their face. And we always talk about the fear of failure. Well, in trading, it's real, and failure is real, but it's not just the fear of failure, but it's learning how to fail and dealing with it. And how to fail on a massive level, right? Someone said, well, a stop loss is learning how to fail every day. But what about dealing with massive failure and then still not quitting and still learning how to not get all bent out of shape and get your mind all messed up, but just to accept it, enjoy life, and keep moving forward. And I know how painful it can be. And I'm kind of like beating this up a little bit, hitting this topic, but I just recently watched the Star Wars series called Andor, and it was season number 2, and I really enjoyed it. And one of the things that hit me was one of the characters on there, Dedra. She was one of the Imperial people. She was an ISB, Imperial Secret Police or whatever. And she had such an ambition for success. She was so ambitious and she worked so hard. And she was really a star in the Imperial system and was just having a lot of success. But she ultimately made some massive blunders and she failed miserably. And the last scene, they show her in prison because she made some failures and she's like in prison and she's crying. And I really enjoyed that content because I could relate to that as to be trying so hard, put everything that you have into something and then to fail miserably. And I think that people don't talk about that enough because you talk about the winners, the people that are successful, the people that didn't give up and they didn't give up and they hit the pinnacle and they did well. But we never talk about the people who put everything they have into it and they didn't give up and they fail miserably. And I have to give more credit to those people than anyone else, because when you give it your all, it becomes part of you. It becomes so connected and so powerful that it can really rip your heart out. And so for the people that have done that, I just applaud them. And so if you're listening here and you've given it everything you have, and it doesn't even have to be about trading, but it could be about any endeavor in your life. If you go all in and you put everything you have into it, in my mind, you are definitely a winner. Right? Because you did something that a few people had the courage to do, and that's to go after it despite failure. And so that I just really enjoyed that episode, and I wanted to talk about it because it's so true for traders. And I've seen so many people, and it's like you can't even talk about your failures because they're so embarrassing. And so hopefully this will help some people just, give themselves a pat on the back and say, you guys did a good job. You guys did well. So I honor you traders that have been working hard and have been doing the best that they can despite maybe some personal mistakes and some personal failures. I just want to say, pick your head up, keep going, don't give up. You can do this. Okay. And so the second part of this, so we talked about why they fail because of fear of missing out, revenge trading, abandoning the plan, jumping from plan to plan, over leveraging. A lot of issues, right? And we know that causes a lot of pain and baggage. But part 2 really is the accountability. And again, I'm not going to take this, as a normal, you're probably not going to hear stuff like this, but it's accountability. People say that all the time, right? Take ownership. I'm going to be successful no matter what. But really, you've got to deal with the emotional aspect of it. And it has caused a lot of pain, I'm sure, for most traders. And so you got to own your results, the good and the bad. You can't control your emotions. You can't control the market, but you can control your emotions. You can control your routines. You can't even always control your routines, really, because I'm in a situation where I have a lot of family members coming in and out of my house at all different times, and I don't always get to trade at the times I want to trade. And so some things are not out of my control. Hello, this is Casey, and I wanted to take a minute to tell you about my new book that just came out. It's called Complete Trading System. This is my 25 years of trading experience, sharing everything that I have learned in how to make a profit from the markets. You're going to learn about how to find the right instruments to trade, how to find a trend, how to get started as beginners. You're going to learn about how to get the right mindset, and you're going to be able to put it all together to create a trading system of your own that will work for you. I highly recommend that you try it out. Just click the link right now. It's called Complete Trading System. It's available on Amazon. Thank you. Go ahead and check it out. I think you're going to love it. Are not in my control, but I can control how I respond. I control how I respond to it. And I choose to have a positive attitude at all times and to always look at the good, always look at ways to improve, always look at myself and not blame other people and not even beat myself up, but give myself forgiveness when I make a mistake, but have standards and say, look, I'm not going to do it. You know, one of my coaches in the past said one of the greatest things that you can do is keep your word to yourself. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And I see this all the time. We have all the people, let's always use weight loss as an example, or exercise, or, you know, I'm going to go on a diet today. I'm going to change how I eat. I'm going to start exercising. You tell yourself you're going to do it and you don't do it. I'm going to stick to my trading rules this time. You tell yourself you're going to do it, but you don't do it. And so it's not easy. You know, the hardest thing in the world is to change. And as a trader, we have to change. We have the same reasons we fail in trading, the same reasons we fail in relationships, the same reasons we fail in our health goals, our personal goals, the same thing, because we don't have the discipline to do what we say we're going to do. And that is just so important. We have to keep our rules and it's not even so much a rule, but it's keep your word to yourself. If you tell yourself you're going to do it and you don't do it, why did you disobey your own guidelines? I know for me, it's always something like, you know, one of the things that I have a problem with is I work on my own schedule and I always like to get up early, but a lot of times I don't do it. And so it's like, okay, I'm getting up early tomorrow and then I sleep in an extra hour. Well, why didn't I keep my word to myself? If you have integrity, it's doing the right thing when no one's looking, and you've got to have integrity. If you can't have integrity with the small things, you're not going to have integrity with the big things. So I recommend just looking at a small area of your life, start small, get some wins, and celebrate those wins and let it build from there. Just don't give up. No matter how many times you fail, you get back up and you start over. And it never feels good to start over. I've had to start over many times and it never feels good, but we don't go by feelings. I heard someone say something recently, and you can tell, identify a mature person because they don't live by their feelings. They live by what they believe. Okay. And you get back up. You don't go by how you feel. You act on what you believe, and you believe that you have the ability to do this. You have the ability to replace your income. And I believe in all the people that are in my system right now that are in the Freedom Options Income members. I reach out to them. I'm saying, hey, how you doing? You doing okay? You making success this week? You making your trades? I try to follow up on everyone because I know how it is. And I'm on a mission to see 100,000 people replace their income with options. That's a real mission. And I'm really going to do it. And I'm going to do it by reaching out to people, making sure they're okay, helping them get those quick wins. And so, you know, we're going to be featuring be ready, because I'm going to be putting some of the successful traders on the show, and they're going to share their stories, and I'm going to feature them in my book. My book's going to be called Replacing Your Income with Options. It's going to feature the stories of the people that have actually done it. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be amazing, and it's going to be great. So, you know, don't worry about being boring. When you're trying to grow your account, slow growth is the way to do it. You know, a lot of my best trades have been very, very boring. My best weeks have been boring. You get in, you follow it, and you go. So ask yourself some questions, you know, take ownership of, this is a time that I'm talking a lot, but I want you to think. You know, if you get some profound content, if you take something in, you got to slow down, just pause for a little bit and think about it. Get a notebook out, ask yourself some questions. You know, even watching regular TV like that, I was talking about that show, Andor, I really enjoyed it. And so I was like, I just paused and I was reflecting on it because it was so interesting. I didn't want to just jump to the next thing. So when you're listening to this content today, this podcast, don't just jump to the next thing. Listen to it, take it in, and ask yourself some questions. Where does your discipline break down? Where have you had massive failures? Where is it that you lie to yourself? What is the belief in your mind? What's the inner belief system that's stopping you from being successful? Why don't you have integrity with yourself? Is there a root issue? I've heard other people talk about self-sabotage. Why are you sabotaging yourself nonstop? What is the root issue causing the self-sabotage? Why are you blaming other people? What part did you have in this? And if you say that there is no part, that you had no part to play, well, if that's true, be honest with yourself. Ask yourself, why are you lying to yourself and where are you being truthful? And how do you know if you're actually being truthful or if you are believing something false, right? There's a lot of these little things that are like, it takes a lot of work to figure this stuff out. You got to wrestle with it with yourself. Like, am I really believing the right thing? Am I really being true to myself? Am I lying to myself? You know? Are you jumping from strategy to strategy? What is the root issue? There's always a root issue. And most of us are not willing to deal with the root issue. What is the root issue? Find it. Dig out the root. You know, the thing about roots is they're buried deep and they're not easy to get to. Roots are strong, right? If you want to tear down a tree and go after the roots, you've got to go deep. And it's not easy. It takes a lot of work. So you're going to have to dig and dig and dig to get this. And I'll tell you, if there's failure happening in your life and it's happening over and over again, there's some root issues that need to be cleaned up. So, you know, if you do decide to join, we can talk about some of this stuff. Let me know what you think. Message me. Message the group. We're here. Our group that we have is like a family. We're all here for each other. So it's really great. One of the things that we like to do to help solve that is to build a routine. And my routine is so simple. And it's that I put out a trade on Monday and I update that trade throughout the week. It's one trade a week and we target 1%. And so this week, I'll just do a review. This week for me, it went pretty good initially. I went in on a Tesla stock, TSLL. It's a smaller Tesla. And I made a really quick 50% profit. So I got in on Monday and I made 50% right away. And then it bounced. And so I was going to get in again. But then we had this whole Elon Musk thing happen. And so I had to deal with that. And I ended up getting assigned. And I also did the same thing on MicroStrategy. Ended up getting assigned. And so I got assigned. And for those of you that don't understand how the strategy works, it basically means that you sell a put, and if the price goes down, you have to buy the stock. And so I ended up having to buy stocks. And sometimes that can hurt your cash flow if you buy the stock, but I'm going to start selling calls on it. Should be fine. And that's the great point of this strategy, is that it doesn't take a lot of time. And now I got Tesla really cheap, right? And so that's a good thing. Okay. And so the strategy works, and you've got to if you want to make $1,000 a week, you need to start thinking like a pro, not a gambler, thinking in terms of systems. So, you know, the solution that I have for you, we just spent all this time talking about discipline and the problems and all this deep stuff. The solution is to build a system, but I had told you earlier that the system was to dig out those roots, because if you build a system and you don't follow it, it's not going to work for you. So you have to understand why you're not following the system. You've got to Just building a system is not going to help. A system is only as good as the person that executes the system. So step one is to build a system. You don't know how many people build systems, build plans, and they'll go to a 3-day seminar, pay $10,000, come up with the greatest plan of all time, and then that plan sits there and collects dust. You got to be a person that executes. Right. And that's always been one of my strong traits, is I've been good at executing. Of course, I've had a lot of self-sabotage along the way, but I have been very good at executing plans. So I basically told you our system. You know, we come out, We make it happen. We come out with a trade on Monday. And then I have another trade, a credit spread on Thursday. And we're getting really good at those. So everything so far is working really well. I started this group in February. We're growing nicely. I'm starting to really see success. We're getting some great reviews. Absolutely loving it. And so if you're interested, just check the links, sign up for my roadmap. I'm also got a webinar coming out. I'd love to see you come to the webinar. I'd love to chat with you, love to help you finally overcome, which we're getting that happen, right? So, find out why you're not following your system. If you don't have a system, why don't you have a system? Get to the root of the problem, build the system, and follow the system. And I will say one thing, despite all of the psychological mumbo jumbo and issues that I've been talking about, one of the key things about following a system is make it as simple as possible. The simpler the system, the easier it is to follow. The less amount of time, especially in today's world when we got a lot of stuff going on in our lives, the simpler it is, the better, right? It's just easier to follow. Sometimes might not even be our fault, but it's just too complex and we ended up not having the ability to do it. One of my friends who's also working with me, I'm teaching him the system. He's also a business coach and he teaches something called the focus card. And I should get this and implement it. I'm probably going to implement it, but we only have the attention span to focus on so many things at a time. And so get that focus card, get your focus on your system, make your system easy, but make sure that you're focused on executing and following, and then recap every week. How did I do? What did I do? Right? So this strategy, this system that I've created, it works really well, but only if you work it. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here. I'll reach out with you. If you message me and say, make sure I'm doing it, I'll do it. Right? I never am too busy for my customers or my clients. I'm always here. My purpose is them. Somebody's like, I don't want to bother you. You're too busy. No. You're the reason why I do what I do. So I'm not too busy. So just a couple of other things here about when I talked earlier about all of the issues and the problems and the pain. I want you to know that there is breakthrough and there's something amazing. So I want you to just say, how will you feel? It's amazing how well it feels when you replace your income finally. Like I talk about gratitude. You find gratitude even when you're all messed up and trashed and destroyed. You can still find things to be thankful for. But once you break through and you have success and you're living on your terms and you have the freedom to do the things that you want to do, to travel, to do everything that you want to do and build relationships and all that cool stuff, no stress, no high stress stuff, the feeling that you get is really indescribable. It's just so amazing. And, so you're going to feel great when you finally overcome. And what will you have? You're going to have an income replacing system. You're going to replace your second job income. You're going to replace your retirement income. You're going to be stacking wins each week. So you're going to feel great and you're going to have a system that works. So yeah, you're going to have a great system and it's going to be awesome. And what will you'll know? You'll know everything you need if you decide to join with us. You'll know when to enter. You'll get the education you need to follow a great strategy, to understand how the market works, to understand the emotional side. And so the truth is that if you want freedom, you need discipline. You need a system. You need to execute it. And we have a community here that will help you do it. And if you want to replace your paycheck, you need to replace those habits that keep you broke. So if you want a step-by-step plan, get my free roadmap, join the Telegram group, or watch my tips on YouTube. It's all available. The link's below. I thank you so much. I love hearing from you. So go leave a comment on my YouTube channel. Check my Telegram out. Contact me, let me know if any of this content has been helpful, and I'd love to see you in the Freedom Income Options Plan. Thanks a lot.